today we finish chapter 2. It's about this more general quadratic algebra I call the 6-vertex algebra or Z algebra or XYZ algebra. And this gives many samples of Q tableau and this coefficient U, V, W, and many samples where there is explicit formula. So first, I realized that some students maybe don't, they go back to the website which were announced in the general website of the institute, and this go back to my old website. So the new one with a mirror image. So this is the mirror image in the institute. This is the new website, and this is the old one. It's still working. And you see, I tried to put everything on what is? Oh, this is not the. Yes, this is a new website. So you have. I tried to put everything, all the classes of last year also, on the same website. So this is part. If you go part 3, then you will have chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. For example, we are in chapter 2, and if you go on the, so there is a list of all the chapters, you see, in detail. And I try to make like a video book where you want to, if you click on the time here, then it goes directly on the YouTube video. So you can, like in a book, go back and forth around the pages and okay, let's go back to. And also, I am transporting all the old website on the new one. So if you go, for example, part 3, if you go anywhere here, then this will bring you to the previous website, where again you can also have all the detail. But in a few weeks, everything will be on the same website, and then I will put some picture because this combinatorics is many picture and. Okay, so I'm reminding of a previous lecture, just a brief summary what we have done. So we introduced this algebra with 8 parameters, 4 generators, the Q and the T, and many sub-algebra are very classical, give a very classical combinatorial object as a complete or Q tableau. So we see there is only at most two elements in each right-hand side of the equation, so you need only 2 colors to define the Q tableau. So for example, if you give a Ferrer diagram, you give the border with operator A, B, or with the letter A or A point, B or B point. Previously, I put A prime, B prime for the alternate sign matrices, but maybe for the indices of the Q and the T are indexed by 2 index with a dot, plain dot, or empty dot. And then you give a configuration. Any subset of this Ferrer diagram, any subset, give you what I call a Beabab configuration, a very simple configuration. It's just a subset of the Ferrer diagram. And once you get this, then you can immediately, bijectively, construct the complete Q tableau with the 8 parameters. Usually in physics, all the example is many examples with rectangles. And it's better to start maybe with B, 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 A. And then you take any subset of this rectangle, and then the border condition, you have to compute what are the value of the border. Then you will have here A or A point, according to the fact that the number of bound cell is odd or even. So here there's an odd number of cells, so the value here on the edges will be A point, this value. And same in column, here there is 2 element of the Q tableau, so you will have a B here. It's an even number, so you can immediately, you see, give the word U and the word V, and usually what we have to do is to compute for a given W, here W is this word, a given word UV, what is the number of a Q tableau? So in this example, what is the number of ways to put some cell of the rectangle, so that in each column, in each row, you fix the parity of the number of cells in each row and column. This is the general 6-vertex model with arbitrary boundary. 8 vertex model. So many models come from physics. You see, it can be translated very simply with as a subset of the rectangle. So we gave an example with alternate sign matrices. So the quadratic algebra has only 6 terms. These 2 terms are 0. these two coefficients are 0, and then you get the anti-sign matrices. So the border condition, you starting with the word Bn, An, give you A point n, B point n. So these two parameters are 0. This is anti-sign matrices, which can be encoded by, again, trivial configuration. So we have seen some, this, if you delete only two, put 0 only two parameters, this is difficult enumerative problem. But if you put 3 parameters equal 0, then this is tractable classical commutative problem. So when we put this, then we show that the rhombus tiling of an hexagon with rhombus tile is associated to this quadratic algebra. And this is a translation. This is a rhombus tiling with some border condition. And so the word W is this, the word U and V and this. And then the coefficient of U, V, W, it depends on 3 parameters. We show there is classical formula for this. This classical formula is in bijection with plane partition. And there is a famous McMahon formula, which in part 1 of the class 2 years ago, I gave a complete proof of the McMahon formula. So a complete proof of this coefficient U, V, and W is a product divided by a product. So this is a nice example where 3 of the coefficients of the general algebra are 0. And then we have seen the tiling of a rectangle or of a square. This is a chessboard. There is 12 million, etc., such a tiling. And then I make wrong slides last time. In fact, the quadratic algebra related to tiling of the square is this, which is not a subalgebra of this one. It's a subalgebra. In fact, the more general problem, the more general, it's a 16 vertex model. Yeah. There will be 16 parameters. Physicists, I think, consider the 16 vertex model. So this is a special subalgebra, and in the section 2 years ago, I gave a formula for this. There is a famous Castellin formula, very complicated. It's not so simple as the plane partition McMahon formula and rhombus tiling. It's formula with cosine, sine, even there is a nice bijective proof, but this is another story. And then last time also we showed the very classical Aztec tiling with a very nice formula 2 power something. And this Aztec tiling was, the algebra was only 2 parameters are 0, but this one is equal to 2. So which means it's exactly the same as the Altenstein matrices, but you replace the 1 here by a 2. So which means that this is coding the number of -1 in the Altenstein matrices. Or when I put blue and red color, this is the number of red cells. And to put a 2 means that you have this, you have a bijection. From this, there is 2 systems of equations, and means that if you put a 2 in the polynomial an of x, which enumerate Altenstein matrices according to the number of -1, then an of 2 is exactly the same as the number of rhombus of tiling of the Aztec diagram, which is this formula. I don't give a proof of this here. You can go back to the class 2 years ago where I gave a complete proof of this formula using only bijection and bijective proof, only determinant. There is no calculus of determinant in this bijective proof. But last time I forget to tell you that, okay, they have the same system of equation, but you have to check they have the same border condition also to have a bijection between the two to show it's the same. So I forget to show you the border condition. So let's take a Aztec diagram like this. You just rotate, and then you look. So you look, we are on the square lattice now, where this is the border condition. B point, B point, B point, A point, A point, A point, and here B, 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 A. So in the Altenstein matrices, just permute A point, and B point. So if you remember the definition of operator A and A point, so you can check that I am exactly, the configuration at the border of all the dimers are exactly in this configuration. You see, for example, the B, this is B point, because it's the orientality, the dimer is 3/4 of the dimer is below these edges, and here 3/4 of the dimer is above the B. So I put a B here, a B point, same for vertical edges, A point, A, so you can check that this border condition for the Aztec diagram rotated by 45 degrees is exactly the same as the border condition for the Altenstein matrices. They have the same border condition, the same quadratic algebra with a 2 instead of a 1. So you can see that there is an equality of the two numbers. An of 2 equal equal number of Aztec tiling, and more, you can find the bijection by translating each rewriting rule in one side and each rewriting rule on the other side. So by translating from complete tableau to complete tableau, you get a bijection. And then I finished chapter last time by giving some geometric interpretation of the 6 and 8 vertex model. What it means, I have this letter B, A, B point, and A point, and I am going to associate to this some geometry. So there is two different ways. I can put some edges on the dual lattice, on vertical like this. I can associate to B edges like this, edges like this. And this was the first geometric interpretation. Today we'll see the second geometric interpretation. And so here is the 8 vertex model. And if you put all these edges on the local rewriting rule, this gives you this 8 possible case locally in a complete Q tableau related to the 6 vertex model. And the condition, you see, of the 8 vertex model is that in each vertex, there is an even number of edges going in and even number of edges going out. So this is 8 possible cases. In the 16 vertex model, that should be, there should be odd, it can be odd and even number of edges going in and here. Only even number of edges are going in and out. And the 6 vertex model, you put a 0 for these two parameters, the same as the alternating sign matrices. So for the 6 vertex model, you have 0, 0. So this configuration is forbidden, which means that there are 4 edges getting in, 4 edges getting out. So what remains is the 6th possibility, where 2 edges are getting inside the vertex and 2 edges are going out. So it is the 6 vertex model stated defined as with edges. So this is a configuration of the 6 vertex model. And usually, so this is solvable with periodic boundary condition, etc. But here there is another boundary condition, what is called the domain wall condition, means that on the top and below, all the edges are getting outside of the picture. And on the left-hand side and right-hand side, all the edges are getting inside, which means in my notation that I have here the word B power n, I have the word A power n, and here I have the word B point power n, and here A point power n, with the translation of A, B, A point, and B point with this condition, translating the letters into an edges. So it's border condition, the domain wall condition of the 6 vertex model is exactly the same as the domain wall condition for alternating sign matrices. So the two border conditions are the same, the two quadratic algebra are the same, so there should be a bijection between a configuration of the 6 vertex model, it's a complete Q tableau with 6 possible labels, and the alternating sign matrices. So the bijection is the following. You see, you put a +1 or a -1 or a blue edges or a red edges. So it's, well, you just translate from one system to another. If you look the two quadratic algebra, you look the blue and the red, the plus and -1, and so this is the blue in the blue cell, the +1 in the alternating sign matrix. This is the -1. So this is the +1. You just repeat the -1. So you just repeat the plus and -1 in your picture here, and you get this. So this is the end of the recalling all what I have done in last time, with some complement and some correction of. So you see, all this chapter 2 is the general principle. There is very few general principles. There is a complete Q tableau, the reverse or reciprocal Q tableau, and demultiplication of equation. This is general principle which, when we apply to give RSK or give the Adela bijection, give for the, we will see much more bijection like this for the alternative tableau, and then we will go back to representation theory for alternative tableau. But the general principle is all this general Z algebra give you many examples of computation or a formula for the coefficient C of UVW. You give a Ferrer diagram. In general, it's a rectangle. With you take the border condition, so you give the W, U, and V. And I would like to compute or to give a formula. So we have many examples. And in many cases, it's a rectangle. So the interest of doing the general framework, maybe it's not a very powerful tool, but but to see if in each example where you can solve the enumerative problem, to try to find why it is working. And can we find some general principle to generalize why we have an explicit formula, and maybe to go back to open problem. So maybe it's useful, I don't know. But at least we put a common framework to many different things. So today we are going to have more example of a complete Q-tableau or example of the formula C of UVW. So I am going to give a second geometric interpretation of the tableau associated to the 8-vertex model. So here is, again, this quadratic algebra. And instead of replacing the letter B point, A point by edges, I'm going to oriented edges. I am going to put non-oriented edges. So again, it's a very simple idea. You replace each of these letters by non-oriented edges, and you get this 8 possible case for the 8 possible coefficients. So you get the complete Q-tableau are going to be configuration of in general in a rectangle of some subgraph with some edges. So the condition here, it's in each point, there is an even number of edges connected to a point. Here there is no edges connected. Here there is 4 edges connected, and all the other cases only 2 edges connected. So if I want to give back some classical configuration, some paths, some loops, etc. So we should need to put some coefficient equals 0. So to put this equal 0 means I am going to forbid crossing. So in my subgraph, there will be some lines, some paths, maybe some loops, but nobody is crossing. So if you put only this 0, you have some configuration of loops and paths which are non-crossing. But if I want to have only paths, so you can get a loop. If you allow all these 4 possible turns, you can get a loop. But if I forbid one of these 4, then this will give me only paths. So if I forbid these 2 coefficients, I will get some non-intersecting paths. I will get a configuration of certain non-intersecting paths, and they are kind of directed paths. They go in the direction which is related to this forbidden turn. So here is an example, you see. I have only these 2 zeros, so means the paths are non-crossing, and this condition means I am getting paths. So these paths, you see, they can go straight, they can go up, they can turn like this, there is three possible turns, which are like this. But because this turn is forbidden, it's kind of, this is in physics called the solid-on-solid model. If I have only one path, which starting from the 0 level, this is called solid-on-solid model. So these paths are a kind of a directed path. They go to the east. They go weakly to the east. They can go north. They can go south. They are non-intersecting. Something is wrong. Which says 3 paths.
Fourth vertex on there. Follow the path.
This path?
From B0 to
this path?
Yeah, the fourth vertex.
go to the fourth vertex. 1, 2.
I call this B0.
Yeah, from B0 go to
No, because you have your path, you see, in the yellow rectangle, but then I make a convention to add another edges. I add other edges all around this configuration to get my letters A dot, to get the boundary condition.
No, the interior point.
This point?
No, interior.
This part?
The next one.
Yes.
That one,
Isn't that forbidden?
that's not allowed, right?
So maybe it's not this 0. It's
All 4 should be.
oh. So I am wrong again. Okay, so I thought it was. So this is not a good example. Yes, okay. But
No, I mean all those 4 on the right hand side. I see.
Yes. I'm saying this one.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do.
so this is allowed.
I think only 1, 0 should be.
Yes. So this is not allowed to go to here. So, okay. So I should correct the picture. Yes. No, I have the 4 different. But it's true that I have pass.
That is just if you put 1
Yes,
0.
yes, yes. No, but if I have all the 4 possible corners, then I can get the loops.
Yes, you can get it.
So if I want to have pass, non-intersecting pass, then I must have one of the corner equals 0. So the example is bad. Okay. No, I need 1 0 to avoid the loops. So if I have only these 2 coefficients equal 0, I have a non-intersecting path. The example is wrong. Okay. No, sorry, example is wrong, but and then you can add.
Non-intersecting.
They are non-intersecting. And the border condition, if you add some edges on the all around, then you get this word W, U, and V. So if you have only this, then it's non-intersecting. There is some loops, there is some paths, and 2 by 2 they are disjoint. 2 paths do not intersect. A path does not intersect a loop does not intersect a loop. But if you have all the coefficients, then I claim that in general, if you have all the 8 possible parameters, then you get this configuration. So which means you have a certain subgraph, where in physics they call it closed graph. The degree of each vertex is 0, 2, or 4. So in general, if you put any border condition, then there will be some paths going from one border to another border. There will be some loop. Everybody can intersect. But if you put this special border condition, that nobody intersects the border, which means that the word W is B power n multiplied by A power m, if we have m by n rectangles. Here also the border condition, if I have no edges coming to the border, so this is U and V are equal UV equal W with a special word. Then what you get, it's only loops. There is no path starting from a single point. It's only loops which can intersect. And this is exactly what is called the Ising configuration, or Ising model. To solve the Ising model is exactly equivalent. This is a very famous model in physics, which for ferromagnetism, and solving the Ising model is exactly equivalent to count such configuration by the number of edges. So all this configuration, all this case, except this one, they are giving 2 half edges. So each of these will count for a t. If a t is a variable counting all of the possible edges, so all this count for t, and this one is counting for t to the square. So Ising model is equivalent to count Q tableau with a certain weight, which is t or t to the square for one of the 8 possible cases, with this border condition. So again, we are, you see, in a special case of counting some Q tableau with some border condition with 8 parameters, and one of them is replaced by t to the square. All the other are t, and this is 1. 1, t to the square, and all the other t, and so you have to take the sum of the weight of all these Q tableaux. So again, there is also a very famous solution of the Ising model using Pfaffian, Castellin. There is a lot of combinatorics behind this. Even there is a proof also using heaps of pieces we have seen last year. So there is a beautiful proof with the heaps of pieces. But again, this is a nice example of a formula for the coefficient UVW in a special case where you get some explicit formula. So maybe to give some more simple formula, it's better to cancel 3 coefficients. It's better. So here I cancel this. There is no intersection, and not only I have non-intersecting paths, but this is special paths. So I hope I did not make a mistake. So you forbid these 2 terms. So your paths are like this. It's directed paths. They go east. Elementary step is east or going north. And depending, starting point and ending point are on the border of the. You guess. So here is an example of such a path. They start. So the starting point is encoded by the word U, which you put a dot. When there is no edges, you put an A. So starting point gives you the U. The ending point here gives you the word W. Here there is nothing, 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 nothing. So this is counting this path is again a special case of the counting Q tableau. Non-intersecting paths like this, there is a very classical lemma which gives you the formula as a determinant. So in that case, there is determinant to solve, and this is the classical, what is called the LGV lemma, and there is a complete explanation in the first part of the class in chapter 4a. So should I repeat the lemma, or everybody knows the lemma, or do you want me to to just repeat the lemma? Yes? No? So in general, huh? Do you know? No, you don't know, not yet. So I just remind you this general lemma. So a path, you have a certain set S. It's the vertices of the lattice, but you can have any set S. And the path is just a sequence of points, the first point starting at S0 and ending in Sn. And then there is a weight going from one vertex to another vertex. There is a certain weight, which is an element of a cumulative ring. Usually it's just a monomial or a number is 1 or 0. If it's 1 or 0, this gives you the adjacency matrix of the graph. It can be T, it can be Q, or T to the something Q, etc. So you have a weight. The weight of the path is a product of the weight of each elementary step. So you get a weighted path. And I am interested in the matrix. The sum, I fix some starting point, A1, A2, AK, in the set capital S. I fix some heading point, and I am interested in this matrix, Aij, the sum of the weight of all the paths, starting from Ai and going to Bj. So this gives me a K by K matrix, and I suppose that this sum is finite, which means that there is no circuit. You are not going to make loops in the path. It's possible, there is an extension of this theorem to any graph, but let's make things more simple. And so if you compute the determinant of this matrix, by definition, is going to be the sum over all possible permutation, going from all possible paths, omega 1, omega k, with omega I going starting from the point Ai and ending in the point B sigma I. And with the weight of this term, the product of the weight of all the paths, and there is a plus or minus 1, the number inversion of the permutation. It's just combining the definition of determinant, the classical with the inversion of permutation, and the definition of the matrix itself. So visually, you have this picture, you see. You have all these parts. You have a certain permutation of going from the K starting point to the K ending point, and you have a certain permutation, certain configuration, and you have a big summation with some term are plus, some term are minus. And there will be the so-called crossing condition. Crossing condition means that if you have two paths, omega eta, starting from Ai, Aj with I is less than J, so the starting points are totally ordered. And then the ending point are B I prime, B J prime, where I prime is less than J prime. So there is a kind of transposition in the two paths. This point is before this one in the order from 1 to k, and the ending point is after the ending point of this one. And I suppose that the weight of these two paths are non-zero. Then the crossing condition tell you that if you have this condition for any quadruple of indices in a path, then the two paths must have a common vertex somewhere. So they must intersect. Intersection of paths means there is a common vertex to the two paths. And then the LGV lemma, in that case, this is a simple form of the LGV lemma, tell you that the determinant is the sum over all configuration of non-intersecting paths. Each path omega I go from Ai to Bi, and you just take the weight of the configuration. So this means that so there is no more plus or minus number of inversion. So this means that in this big summation, see, this was a big summation defining the determinant, which means all the terms are going to cancel. What will remain will be only the term corresponding to the identity permutation. And even with identity permutation, some paths can intersect. For example, this path can go up here and go down here, but only the configuration with non-crossing. So there is a tremendous scaling involution, and so this is the LGV lemma, the simple form of the LGV lemma, and a simple example to go back to our 8-vertex model and the 6-vertex with the path. So if you take this determinant of binomial coefficient, put x binomial coefficient on the diagonal like this. So what is the term ij will be, starting point is this one, this point at level I, ending point is j, and you take path only with east and north elementary step. So the sum of the weight of all the paths, now the valuation is only 0 or 1 when you go to the next neighbor east or north, and valuation is 0 everywhere else. So the sum of the weight of the path going from I to j is exactly the number of paths, which is the binomial coefficient here. And so the total determinant, if I take all this point here as starting point, all this point as ending point, the determinant, if you see visually, it's immediate that the determinant is 1. There is only one configuration of non-intersecting paths. Each path omega I go from AI to BI. So I go back to my general framework with the 8-vertex model with 3 coefficients equal 0. With these 3 coefficients equal 0. So I get this kind of path. They can only east, going east or north, and I have a beautiful, yes? Yes?
So in this model, so if you put only these two are 0, third will be automatically 0. So you are never going to use that. The top one, the second one.
I thought which, in each column, first column or second column?
So that you are saying putting these 3 0.
Yes, I put 0, 0. So
If you put only 2 0, this third one is never going to have to use that. In direction you will never need this
If I-
process to use.
but 2, 0, which one you want to take off?
Put this q dot dot 0 and that the second line top 1 0. The second line second 1 0 is automatic.
So if you want to not to put this 0
Only put don't put 0.
here,
Yeah, and only these two are 0.
so only this one,
Your paths, so
and this
you are
one.
going to use that.
because I can go like this, I can go like this, and
Saying that if
Yeah,
the
yes.
end point is to the northeast of your starting point.
You have to ensure the boundary conditions.
yes, it depends on the boundary condition. Yes, because of course I can put this configuration and plus one path like this here to get, if this is non-zero, add a new path going starting from this, going down and going to the east. So it's possible to have a, but it depends. Of course, if I have only this, if I have this starting point are here, ending point in here, then you are right. I will not be able to use this. So it depends on the border condition. Because I can always add, if I have this configuration, I can always add a path like going like this and like this, which will use this turn. Yes, it's okay. It's
Symmetrically, you could have put the bottom 2 0, right? Instead of the top 2 as 0.
bottom 2 0. Yes.
You could put the bottom 2 0.
Yeah. Okay, also yes. It will be with a change of variable or a change. It will be the same.
But then you had another model with, so that's the rhombus tiling. So you had one in which the bottom.
Here, yes. This will be the next section. If I put 0, 0 here and 0 here, then this is a rhombus tiling. And as a path, this is also a model for path. So they should be, it means there should be a bijection between rhombus tiling and some non-intersecting path. So we'll see in 5 minutes that this will give a classical bijection. There is a very classical bijection between rhombus tiling or plane partition and configuration of paths. But let's finish this example with binomial determinant. So what is a binomial determinant? It's you take some strictly increasing sequence of positive or equal to 0 numbers. And this notation is an extension of the notation for a single binomial coefficient. You take this binomial coefficient A, I, B, J for I and J between 1 and K, and you take this determinant. This is called the binomial determinant. And so using the LGV lemma, you get immediately a proof that this is a positive numbers, and you give an interpretation. So let's take this is a Pascal triangle. The binomial coefficient AI, Bj, if you take AI equal 8, Bj equal 4, then this binomial coefficient, the number of paths going from this blue point to this red point, right? It's 70, this binomial coefficient. Now taking a binomial determinant means you are taking a minor of the Pascal triangle. This is the starting point, the blue point. This is the row of the minor. The red point is the column of the minor. I suppose I have put 0. The Pascal triangle, I extend on the above the diagonal, I put some coefficient equal to 0 to have an infinite matrix. So this minor is going to be the determinant of this 4x4 matrix. And I can apply the LGV lemma, because in that case, the crossing condition, of course, is satisfied. If you have two paths like this, with the heading point are switched, then there must be somewhere intersecting point. The crossing condition is satisfied, and so applying the LGV lemma, I get the proposition, the binomial determinant, the minor, any minor of the Pascal, extended Pascal triangle, is a number of configuration of non-intersecting paths, starting at the point AI, ending at the point Bj, where AI is the point 0 AI, and Bj is the point Bj on the diagonal. And these paths are only elementary step north and east. So this is an example of such binomial determinant here. It's a number of such configuration, which is 210. This gives you proof that it's positive. It's not obvious. If you take the extended Pascal triangle, it's a positive numbers. So this is again an example of a Q tableau, but instead of being on a rectangle for the diagram, Ferré diagram, I am on the staircase Ferré diagram. So if I want to translate this non-crossing configuration of paths in the term of the Taylor on that, I should do this. We're adding some half edges to get the border condition. So now you have border condition. The word W is a staircase shape, and so again this fits very well in the framework of the general 8-vertex algebra, with 3 of the coefficients are 0, or in fact only 2, because the other coefficient will not be used. So the remark about rhombus tiling, plane partition, and that they have the same system of equation. So this was the system of equation for my non-intersecting paths. Now I have changed the 0. Instead of putting 0, 0, I put 0, 0 here. So which means that my paths are like this now. They are going east or south. And we have seen that this is also the same as the rhombus tiling. So they have the same system of equation, the same rewriting rule, the same complete tableau. I have just to check the border condition. For the rhombus tiling, the border condition was this border here with a B. When we fill all this, with this special tiling. I'm not going maybe to give all the detail of the border condition, but you can find some correspondence between the configuration of paths and tiling to have a bijection. So here is in terms of plane partition. Plane partition, if you look the projection from the 3D perspective, this gives you again this tiling, which I have written instead of written of the triangular lattice, I've written of the square lattice, adding a diagonal. And so I get back some very classical bijection. Automatically, I have some bijection. You have to be careful with border condition. I have bijection between this and non-intersecting coefficient of paths. So this becomes this. You add this border condition, and here is a path. If you transpose the complete Q tableau of paths, you put them on the complete Q tableau of tiling, you get exactly this path. Or if you prefer plane partition, if you go down, you suppose this is like a big mountain, and some water are going down in the mountains, and so in each of these planes there is some water going down, so there is 3 rivers going down, and this gives you paths, non-intersecting paths, and if you work a little on the border condition, and this can be transformed into this configuration of paths, which is exactly binomial determinant. So this is very classical, that plane partition, rhombus tiling can be put in bijection with this binomial determinant. Now you have to compute this binomial determinant to get the McMahon formula I have shown last time. And this computation just go to the, I am not going to give it again, but there was a complete proof of the McMahon formula using this bijection and using some standard lemma how to compute a determinant, a binomial determinant. There was two lemmas. If the starting points are consecutive, then there is a recursive formula to compute the determinant. If the ending points are also consecutive, there is another way to compute the determinant. Here we are in both cases, so it's even easier. And by recurrence, you can compute the determinant and see the hook length appearing and the contents appearing in this setting, and you get the McMahon formula. Just go back to the class. I'm not going to give more detail, just to give you an example of two tiling plane partition or non-intersecting paths are the same system of equations, the same boundary conditions, so I can get automatically a bijection, which is a classical bijection.
From a plane partition, there is more than one way to obtain a series of paths.
Yes, you can make also, if you look the border, yes, there is three directions.
So what is there any relation between the paths?
There is some duality, but it's all the configuration will go back to binomial. It will be the isomorphic. Will go back to binomial determinant.
Like conjugation in
There is three systems of network of such river. The three are there some orthogonal relation, and we at the end of the class I will give you a complement, something a certain quadratic algebra which does not fit in the general theory, where there is the variable are only in two subsets of variables, the blue and the red, vertical and horizontal. There will be three sets of variables. This will be the PASEP with two sorts of particles. And again, it can be solved. All the theory can be do the analog, and I will need these three sets of paths on the plane partition. So we'll have some alternative tableau on this using these three sets of paths. Alternative tableau, there is a blue, nobody at the left, nobody below. I will use the three sets of paths to do the PASEP with two sorts of particles, so it will be very useful to look at the same time the three sets of paths. So there is some, we have done non-intersecting paths which give some beautiful formula because I have cancelled three possible. But what happens if I cancel only these two and I keep this coefficient, and then there is something classical which is called the osculating path. Osculating path, it means that you allow to touch. I take these two are 0, but I allow this coefficient. So here in an example of what is called osculating path, you see starting points are here, ending points are here. They go only east and north. They start from consecutive point. They end in consecutive point, and you see when there is two paths, they can touch only in one point. And then you don't cross. Even you don't follow, you just touch in one point. Immediately if you touch, you have to. So this is called osculating path. Physicists have been some more general paths where you can follow one along one edges or more two edges, which means they call this one night or 2 nights, 3 nights. The two partners they stay together for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. But here, the two partners must only, they shake hands and then they go away. Don't go for the whole night with your partner. And so this osculating path, but it's, so it's more, yes? Yeah. Question?
Pipe dream, something like
Yes, but it's kind of pipe dream, yes. But they don't cross. You have in pipe dreams, they can cross. They can just avoid or cross. Here, they just avoid. As soon as they are close together, they like a bumping, like a mirror here in each of these points. So this is also some classical, less classical confusion of paths, osculating paths. So, but you see that this is exactly the 6-vertex model. This is exactly the Altenstein matrices. So some people, In Australia, Brack and other physicists, they try to, for learning about, putting the formula for the alternative matrices to transform this into osculating paths. But the problem, the difficulty is still there. So when you have only 2 points, you say it's much more difficult to enumerate osculating paths than to enumerate non-crossing the path with the binomial determinant. So there must be a bijection between Alter-Higgs matrices and osculating paths. And here is a bijection. Here is an Alter-Higgs matrices. You have to check that with the boundary condition. So the -1 are the red point, the +1 are the black point. So here is a boundary condition for the Alter-Higgs matrices. When I transpose A point, and B point, and here is the osculating path. So you see, it's like shadow line in the Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence from the northeast. I am just like putting shadow line for the black point. But when you have but the shadow line stop here. You stop here when you have a red point. So you can, I don't describe completely the bijection, but from the translating the two systems of equation, quadratic equation, from Alter-Higgs matrices to osculating paths, you can easily construct the bijection. So all the paths are starting from consecutive point on this vertical line. All the paths are ending in consecutive point. So you see, I did not write the path, but the first path is here. Second path is you can recognize the third path is this one. If I look carefully, no, the fourth path is this one. You can go like this, and then the next one is this. So you can reconcile from this picture. You can see what is the first path, second path, third path, etc. And you can easily describe the bijection between Alter-Higgs matrices and osculating paths. This such configuration. So it's much more difficult to enumerate. There is no general formula. It's more difficult to enumerate osculating paths. So each time you have in this system of equation only 2 terms equal 0, then the difficulty increases. 3 terms is the classical thing. Binomial, there is determinant. If you take only 2 terms, so some people try to express such number with a sum of determinant or a sum of some Pfaffian or everything. It's open problem to do in the general case to compute its coefficient. Is there a general way involving determinant? Or? It's a -1 of the Alter-Higgs matrices. In the red point, it's a southwest corner. You see, it's turning like this, where there is no path is touching, no path is coming here. You see here, this path has a corner. It goes south and east, but another path is touching here. So the red point are exactly the turning point here, going south and east, where there is no other path touching this point.
Is it possible to transform every oscillating path into a non-intersecting?
No, it's osculating paths of this type, where all the starting points are consecutive. Here, all the ending points are consecutive. So in this case, yes, it's a bijection between osculating paths. But LGV lemma does not work here. It's work for non-intersecting paths.
Alternate points start.
Maybe, yes. Maybe you can extend the LGV lemma.
But for example, in the cell 2D,
Here, yes.
you can change the L shape to inverted L shape.
Because if you...
The crossing condition will be.
Because there is a possibility. When there is a touch, you can put a coefficient 2, and maybe you can try to switch to switches here so that it does not touch. But then maybe you are going to touch another path. So this idea to put a coefficient 2, but then this idea has been, there is some paper where this idea to put a coefficient 2, and this idea it's analog to the idea in the which putting a 2 in the Altair-Einstein matrices for the -1 and get the Aztec diagram where you have a explicit formula. So this idea, but putting a color, then it's easier. It's like Altair-Einstein matrices. You put a color on the -1, 2 color, and then you get Aztec tiling, which is a formula with a determinant. It's a determinant, Hankel determinant of Schroeder number, which can be computed bijectively or analytically. So Aztec tiling is easy. It's amazing that Altair-Einstein matrices are difficult. Aztec tiling, you have 3 coefficients equal 0. Altair-Einstein matrices, only 2 coefficients are 0. But if you put a 2 in one of these coefficients and you have -1, then it becomes easy. It becomes the same difficulty as having 3, 0. And this connection, as there is some paper, some idea where you do the same with oscillating paths. But then you are not enumerating coefficient of oscillating paths. You put color 2 on some point, so it's something different, which becomes easier to enumerate. Now we are in the world of putting only 2 coefficients equal 0. And if I change, instead of forbidding loops or intersection, if I do only these 2 coefficients equal 0. So you can have loops, but the loops, because these 0 are non-intersecting, and then putting z equals 0 means that in every point of the diagram, there is some edges. And you get the famous FPL. FPL is fully packed loop configuration. So this is an FPL. You see the boundary conditions are alternating. You can start, there is 2 possibilities. You can start with an edges here or with no edges. And then boundary conditions are alternating. So it's a B, B point, B, B point, B, B point, etc. Again, alternating. So if you finish with a B point and you start with an A, so you alternate all around the square. And you see in each point, there is 2 edges coming to the vertex. There is 6 possibilities for such. And it's to say that this is coefficient 0, then it's a non-intersecting loops, which covers the whole graph. So this is a typical example of what is called FPL, fully packed loop configuration. There is some loops. I have a random FPL. Here there is no loop inside, but it's possible to have loops inside. You need to take a bigger FPL. So here is an example of a bigger FPL, which is a random FPL. Also, there is some algorithm to have an A, and here is a picture of a random FPL. So you see you have some loops inside. This is due to Philippe Duchamp in Bordeaux. He has some beautiful picture, even some bigger beautiful picture. And there is an analog of the Arctic Circle. You see the coefficient of the corner. They begin to be regular frozen. You see the corners are frozen, and each side is a gas. You have to go bigger picture. But it's not a circle. It's something different, a complicated variety. It's a Pronko and Ronco. There is a corner, but it's almost a circle. It's not exactly a circle. It's more difficult, random FPL. But then there is a very classical bijection between Altair-Einstein matrices and FPL. So both have 2 coefficients are 0. Altair-Einstein matrices was the 2 coefficients on the bottom. FPL, 2 coefficients on the... So in FPL, we were working with a Q parameter, and Altair-Einstein matrices were working with a T parameter. See, these 2 coefficients, this is some Q coefficient. It's Q index, 2 dot Q index, and with Altair-Einstein matrices, we are working here. So it must be not obvious that there is a bijection. It's not the same system. So we have to send these 2 into this one. So even if you relabel, then you are going to stay in the same row. You have to jump here. But here we are with a T, and here we are with a Q. So I give you the bijection, and then I give you how to, if I did not know the bijection, how to do it from the quadratic system. Because when I am here, I am working with Altair-Einstein matrices. I put a Brown cell. When I am here, I am working with the Q means the complement. So I will explain this. But let's do the bijection first. So here is an Altair-Einstein matrices. And I give you the classical bijection that all the specialists of the domain know very well. So I put it in like this. And we know that this is equivalent to the 6-vertex model with domain wall boundary condition. So here is a configuration of the 6-vertex model. So here is a 6-vertex model. And from this configuration, I will construct the FPL bijectively. So first,
just connect the lines.
You have to delete some edges. Because in each vertex, 2 edges are coming in, 2 edges are coming out. So for each vertex, I have to delete 2 of the edges. But the rule to deleting some edges, if I delete 2 edges in a nice, smart way, I will get my FPL. But the rule will depend of the parity of something. So you color the vertex of the lattice in 2 colors alternatively, like a chessboard when there is a black and white cell. So you color in 2 colors, and then you are going for the red color. You are going to delete, there is 2 different ways. You are going to delete the 2 edges getting out. And for the yellow color, you do the reverse. You are going to delete the 2 edges getting in. And this will give me this. Because of the condition of a 6-vertex model, because of the alternative color of the
Boundary condition.
and all those, because of the boundary condition. Everything is important. The boundary condition for the Altair-Einstein matrices, which is which is with the A, the B, A point, B point. And because of this, you can check that you get an FPL, and you say with a good boundary condition, and you can check that this is a bijection. You can go back. So it's a bijection between Altair-Einstein matrices, which are obviously in bijection with the 6-vertex model, with domain wall boundary condition, and the FPL with this alternating boundary condition. So this is very classical. What is not classical, so classical, is to deduce it from the general quadratic algebra. Because all this framework is just to try to, well, we have many examples, many bijection, many formula, try to know why does it work, to try to extract some general principle. So maybe there will be more, but I try to extract some general principle, and at least I can get the RSK and the bijection for alternative tableau from the same general principle, but I repeat the construction. Here is an Altair-Einstein matrices. You see, you add these edges, and here is a FPL. This is another example between an FPL and Altair-Einstein matrices. Another example, the same. So let's make some comment about this bijection. How to get it from the quadratic algebra? How to come from the complete tableau associated to this quadratic algebra to the complete tableau associated to this with, now the boundary conditions are not the same. Because for ASM, I have BBB, AAA with BB point, B point, B point, A point. But for the FPL, I have some alternating condition. So from where it comes, try to get some general principle to explain, to understand how this bijection works. So here is so the idea is that when you work with a T, suppose you have a configuration. So the configuration, there is 2, like this one. This is a configuration with only 2 colors, the white and this color, which correspond to these 2 equations here. So all these terms are not in the configuration. All these terms, these 2 terms are in the trivial Beaba configuration. I make the same color for the blue and the red. So putting this, I have a certain configuration like this. This is equation C, and all the other cells are white, which correspond to this, all these parameters. And so I have to put, now I have to put, to cancel this means I am, these two indices, Q index this and Q index this will be 0. So in fact, I am working in the complementary configuration. Because the weight T is for this point, and the weight Q, there is 4 possible weight Q, it's for all these empty cells. So I have to take the complementary of alternating sign matrices. And I claim that if I look carefully the definition of the characterization of alternating sign matrices, what is the characterization of the complement of the trivial configuration, the Beerbaum configuration associated to the alternating sign matrices? In yellow, you have the alternating sign matrices. Here, in brown, I have the complement. This is for the general. So how it works, how to go from one matrix to the complement of the matrix. So you remember the exercise, I give the solution that if you have, in general, if you take any configuration of this square Bn, An with this starting condition, take any configuration with the 8 vertex model, before cancelling these two 0, 0, 0 to get alternating matrix, but start from the general condition of the 8 vertex model, start from a trivial configuration with this, defining this cell with the same colors, and then you have to label from a trivial tableau, you get the complete tableau by labeling the cell. Suppose you have a certain tableau, a certain configuration, like this one. Here I have two configurations, the one of the alternating sign matrices and the complement. So suppose you have a certain configuration C in general, and you are going from the configuration, the trivial Beerbaum configuration, you will get a complete tableau. So how do you color the cell of the tableau? So if alpha is in the, you take any cell, if the cell is in the configuration, the weight will be T index XY something. I am going to define precisely what are X and Y. If it's not in the configuration, the cell will be Q index XY, with X and Y will be defined very simply by this. If you take the cell in the configuration, I have defined G of alpha of the cell and B of alpha, the leg and the arm, the bras and the jambe in French, like the Garcia notation. So you look the number of points which are in the configuration at the east of this cell, number of points which are at the north of this cell, and depending on the parity of this number of points, then you will put the index for T, X, y, X and Y. So for X, you will put X equal this dot, plain dot if it's odd, and empty dot if it's even. And then same for the condition Y, but working with this B of alpha. So depending on the parity of B of number of points in B of alpha, number of points in J of alpha, you will have this weight, T index X and Y, with 4 possible cases. Now if I take the complement, so for alternating sign matrices, 2 of the coefficient T index, 2 of the T are 0. So how to translate this into the complement? So if you take, so if I have a certain configuration, C, I have this rule to label the weight, to get the weight of the point of the configuration, but how to label the point of the complement? So to label it, then you have to, because I have to count, if I take a cell of the complement, I have to take how many points in the B of alpha, GA of alpha, of the complement. So I have to know the parity, and the parity will depend of the parity of the cell of the configuration itself. But then it will depend of the parity of, if I take a cell here, it will depend also of the parity of the total number of cells on the right, total number of cells on the above. So I have to know, I have to color in with 4 possible colors. So all the cells will be with 4 colors, plus, minus, plus, and minus. So you start with plus, then minus, plus. So each cell is color in, you have to count the parity of the cell on the east, the parity of the cell above, and then the rule will be the following. In the complement of the configuration, the T will be changed in a Q, where X is this or this, and the rule say the index xy will be transformed into a certain x bar, a y bar, where the rule x bar means you change the plain dot by a y dot, or y bar you the same for y. So depending of the, it's a little, if you think carefully, changing the complement, going the coefficient C to the complement, means I am going to label the cell of the complement with this rule like this, and depending of the color of the cell. So this is the first example where you color, you see, from a coloring of the cell, the rule to put the color, the rule to put the Q to go from a Q tableau to a complete Q tableau depends on the geographic position of the cell. You will put a certain coefficient, depending if it's a white cell or brown cell, but also it depends on the geographic position, in which of these 4 possible colors you are. So I go a little fast, but if you think carefully of this, I will make a summary that for the Altair-Einstein matrices, you have these 2 coefficients equal 0. And then if you take the complement, by applying this rule, this will be the forbidden. The coefficient will be 0. These 2 coefficients will be 0 only on the cell plus, plus, minus, minus. And these 2 coefficients will be 0 only on the cell plus, minus, minus, plus. So it's complicated.
But maybe if you club 4 squares together.
This is exactly this. You see, if you change the initial condition, then these 4 conditions become only 1. So this explains why you have to take alternating boundary condition to get the FPL, is because with this strange condition, which is the translation of the condition for Altair-Einstein matrices going to the complement, with this strange condition, you can check that these 2 conditions are equivalent to this condition where I have this boundary condition. And so you get back the bijection Altair-Einstein matrices FPL. Also it works with, you can alternate, there are 2 different ways to alternate the boundary condition. So this is an explanation of the going from one configuration to the complement, and see what, there is some term forbidden, what are the term forbidden in the complement, and then to have a nice form of the condition to translate this into this. So it does not depend on the geographic position. Here it depends on the geographic position of the cell. So this is, you see, we are entering the world of more complicated bijection, where you have a trivial configuration. Before it was okay, I just look how many, the parity of the number of cells on the right, parity of the number of cells in the coefficient above. But now I can, according to the parity, I decide something, but I can decide also according to the geographic position of the cell. So you can imagine, take Altair-Einstein matrices, change completely the rule of the position of the rule to get a blue, the rule to get the matrix. Change the rule depending on the geographic position. There is an infinite number of ways to change the rule, and so you can get thousands of bijection between Altair matrices and strange configuration. Strange like this, but I don't know if some are useful or some. But in this case, a very classical Altair matrices FPL, we can explain it by some general principle of you have a certain condition on the matrix, take the complement. Okay, the condition is changing, and it's not a nice condition, but I make this trick to change the boundary condition so that the condition become again nice and all in the same picture. Putting a 2, yeah, this would be, I did not think of this. Putting the 2, yes, it would be to see what happens, the dual. This would be interesting to see with the Aztec tiling if I put a 2.
So the procedure would still convert that particular P coefficient into some.
Into a 2, yes. So the 2 will go, will split it, will go to the left hand side. Oh, it's very nice. Thank you. So good student would work on this research problem to see what happened with the 2 and the Aztec tiling. And so there will be a sort of tiling. What happened? What is the configuration? It will be in bijection with Aztec tiling, but somebody analog to FPL. I don't know. It's interesting. So I go back. Last time I showed you a research problem where there was this XXZ and there was some polynomial. You see, there is coming from this physics. There is some polynomial where it's not open problem to from the physics, this is just by experiment. And the fact they are positive is just by experiment. There is no proof. The fact there is an integer, and the fact they are positive, and there is something very nice. If you look at both sides of the, here you have the number of Altair matrices, here the number of Altair matrices, and they are symmetric polynomial. So I was thinking that maybe the open problem is to find a combinatorial interpretation of this. So I was thinking that maybe this is ASM and this is FPL. So the fact is symmetric, is just taking the complement. And then you have to find a parameter. So research problem, of course, you will not need to learn all the physics. This is for physics people who understand all the paper. But the research problem can be, okay, let's take the trivial, this kind of configuration. I know there is 2 power n to the square. And the sum of the coefficient of the polynomial are exactly 2 power n to the square. So the total coefficient interprets trivial configuration of the n by n. So this is exactly interpretation of the whole polynomial. And you have to find a parameter on this trivial configuration so that, but the parameter must be linear, which means in n there is one, because if you count, for example, the number of times you meet a certain parameter t index something, to say, okay, if this parameter is 0, I will have Altair matrices. If it's the maximum possible, I will get FPL. So all the natural parameters you can get from the quadratic equation with the q in the t are usually quadratic parameters, which means they increase as a square of n of the size. Here, the polynomial, you have to find a parameter which is linear in n. The parameter should be 0 minimum, and the maximum would be n. So you have to find this trivial configuration, have a parameter equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. But all natural parameters which come from all these q and t coefficients are quadratic. So to find a linear parameter, so that if the parameter is 0, you get Altair matrices. If the parameter is a maximum, you get FPL or Altair matrices. And symmetric means maybe taking the complement of the configuration. So this can be a research problem just by experiment mathematics to try to find all possible parameters on the FPL which are linear, on the trivial configuration which are linear, and to try to so that this parameter, the minimum maximum value, should give the Altair matrices.
What is the second?
I don't know. This will be interesting to see the second term. Yes. So the physicists ask it. They say it would be very interesting to have a combinatorial interpretation. Of course, also for us, it would be very interesting to.
So this conjecture has not been. It's quite old.
Yes, it's 10 years ago.
Like more than now, 13 years.
I thought 2005. Yes, 13 years ago. Yes.
They don't have any progress.
I don't know too much. I met them 15 years ago, and I don't know too much if there is progress. I don't heard of a combinatorial interpretation of this. This is in quantum mechanics papers. It's,
And the sum is 2 to the n square.
yes, they sum to 2 power n to the square. So the sum of the coefficient is a number of Beerbaum configuration.
Is anything known about the alternate?
No, I don't know. It's maybe after this class I will write to them if they have make any progress on the. Okay, so I'll finish with some comment and open question. So you have a quadratic algebra. You have this coefficient C of U of V W. So which means you are filling, or maybe you are filling a rectangle with some. You have some plaquette with some color on the 4 edges, and the plaquettes are such that the colors are compatible. This is a definition of a complete Q tableau. So you can also maybe this is also a classical problem in tiling, and the color of the 2 plaquettes must be the same. And there is some boundary condition. So is there a general technique? Is there a formula or algorithm? It's a difficult problem because in special case you get very difficult problem.
But you don't expect the answers for arbitrary boundary conditions or arbitrary points.
I don't know. We should attack the problem in general, in very general way. Maybe some special boundary condition, yes. But is there a an analog of LGV, because if you have only one row, okay, you can associate your plaquette. It's like a regular, it's like a Faraday automata. You can easily do all your plaquettes associated with a good color between each edges in one row. Then if for each row you can do it, but then there must be a compatibility between two consecutive rows. So this is so physics techniques, they put parameters, they use Yang-Baxter equation, but is there a direct commutative way to attack this problem? This is a very general problem and, to find or genetic function, or at least an algorithm, or maybe it's a no, it's a very difficult, in general, very difficult, but starting from the particular case, for example, the determinant worked very well, or the 6 and 8 vertex model work with a Yang-Baxter equation with some physics tool. Can we translate this, extract why it works, and extract this with some commutative tool? And so also find, so we'll see next time, chapter 3, we'll start chapter 3 with alternative tableau. And we will see that there exists a commutative interpretation leading to a bijection between alternative tableau and n factorial. So is there a commutative interpretation of such a matrix, of such operator, giving the alternative matrices, or can you duplicate the equation? At the end of the class, I will give you in complement. I have a way to duplicate, but it's very ugly and complicated, and analog of RSK for a local rule, analog of RSK, etc., or a direct commutative proof of the Einstein matrices. So we are in this tableau here. So all this question to do the analog of RSK is completely open. But what is not open is next time I will start chapter 3. And then we will see exactly, there will be a representation of the quadratic algebra with commutative operator. Representation totally different from the representation for RSK. This representation will involve, we will go through the beautiful garden of orthogonal polynomial permutation, Laguerre history, data structure in computer science. And there will be a bijection, which will be automatically with local rules. So everything will work here. This will be the second main example. This is totally open. And we have touched the subject of Einstein matrices. This is the jewel of combinatorics. We are really in the beautiful garden. This is Einstein matrices, totally symmetric, self-complementary plane partition, the descending plane partition, the FPL. RS is not Robinson-Shostet, is Razumov, Stroganov. Maybe I have 10 minutes to give you a beautiful walk in this fantastic garden. So this is in complement. I am going, the level of the class is going to increase just to show you the beauty of this combinatorics. So first the beauty, Lascaux and Schoenberger has shown that Einstein matrices written as in bijection with Monotone triangle are the completion as a lattice of the Breuer order, the strong order on permutation. This is not a lattice, but there is a standard technique to complete the poset, and this gives you naturally this triangle appear. There is a poset, which are exactly the Einstein matrices. This was in 95, 20 years ago. So Lascaux has worked on the X model, everything. Also, there was, I think, a workshop here on Schubert calculus and extension by Lascaux with Grothendieck polynomial. So Lascaux also defines the Schubert and Grothendieck polynomial. They can define it from the Einstein matrices by putting some weight on the Einstein matrices, and you get the Grothendieck polynomial. So I can give you the reference. The paper is a beautiful paper, the Lascaux Schoenberger. And I give you the story of the Einstein matrices. How the Einstein matrices appear in literature. It appeared in 82, so a long time ago. So the story starts with McMahon. McMahon has a conjecture for the generating function of symmetric plane partition. We have seen plane partition, McMahon formula, and symmetric plane partition. Symmetric means you exchange the axes x and y. Symmetric plane partition, it's like this. If you take a symmetry of the left-hand side and right-hand side, take a symmetry, then it must be the same. This is called symmetric plane partition, and McMahon conjecture give a formula. There was a formula for the Q series of the symmetric plane partition. The Q counts the number of box. And this was proved by Andrews and MacDonald in 78 and 79. But maybe there is some other symmetry. Cyclically, you can rotate a cyclically symmetric plane partition. You make some rotation, and this one is invariant by rotation between the three axes x, y, z. This is called partition that are invariant by this. I call cyclically symmetric partition, and there was a conjecture of MacDonald. And it was proved by Mills, Robin, and Ramsey in 82, after Andrews proved it for Q equal 1 with some determinant. And at that time, the LGV lemma was not known. It was not, because LGV lemma came L from Lindström. It was a former paper in a matroid theory, and nobody noticed this paper. And then with G and V, then there was and then, so we popularized with Gessel, we popularized this Lindström lemma. Many people in the 80s discovered the same time. Mills, Robin, Ramsey also, many people were working with non-crossing paths and determinants. So even in chemistry, in physics, or many people, so this lemma is, but the more general form was by Lindström and Gessel and the speaker. And so the Mills, Robin, and Ramsey, they prove the MacDonald conjecture, but they say in the introduction of the paper, they say it's like if we climb a mountain, and they introduce, they discover the Alter-Einstein matrices by trying to prove the MacDonald conjecture. So they try to solve the formula for the number of Alter-Einstein matrices. So they climb a mountain, and they did not know what they discovered. When the fog disappeared, they did not solve the Alter-Einstein matrix conjecture, but they solved the MacDonald conjecture. But they want to go to the Alter-Einstein matrices, and wanting to climb this mountain, then without knowing it was too much fog, they prove the MacDonald conjecture. So the ASM conjecture, it's go back to the computation of what is called by Dodson the condensation of determinant. It's a way of computing determinant by deleting the first row, first column, last column. So you have a recursive procedure to compute the determinant. And if you really look from this recursive procedure to get the determinant as a summation of something, the summation will be over all Alter-Einstein matrices. Instead of a summation with permutation number inversion, you will have a summation over all Alter-Einstein matrices. And Dodson is 19th century. It's also, he makes some novel with Alice au Pays des Merveilles. He's Lewis Carroll, the same man. Lewis Carroll and Dodson is. And so the Alter-Einstein matrix conjecture, it's by experiment you can show that the number of n by n Alter-Einstein matrices is this number. And this was a famous Alter-Einstein matrices conjecture, which was stated by Mills, Robin, and Ramsey in 82. And it took more than 10 years to solve this conjecture. So it was a big problem, and all combinatorists at that time cannot sleep for many nights. How can you sleep? How can you leave all this conjecture open? And it's so very nice definition. This is typical, very nice problem. The definition of the matrix is very easy. The solution is very easy. Any boy at 12 years old can understand what is the problem, but the proof is terrible. But at that time, somebody remarked, then you remember Andrews in the paper when he solved for Q equal 1 the cyclically symmetric plane partition, he introduced some, it's complicated to define, he introduced a new class of partition, a descending plane partition, the DPP. And somebody, I think it's Stanley, remarked, but the number of descending plane partition is exactly the same as the number of Alter-Einstein matrices. So this is very strange. So in descending plane partition are in bijection. I am not going to define descending plane partition. They are in bijection with the configuration of non-crossing paths, and the paths are exactly the paths we have shown before. And here is the path. Here is the coding of the descending plane partition with a configuration of paths on an n by n square. So the condition, if you take any configuration like this, it will, the special condition, you start from this point n. So you go to this path here, then, and the red point if you take a symmetric, the abscissa of the red point, take a symmetric diagonal, and then you put the starting point of the next one. So the starting point of the second pass is exactly the symmetric of the ending point of the previous pass. If you take the symmetric of this point, you get this. So if you start with, you say it's not, it's a special coefficient of pass, and they are in bijection with descending plane partition. So this is in bijection with Altair-Einstein matrices. But at this time, to my knowledge, nobody has found any bijection. There is no bijection between descending plane partition and Altair-Einstein matrices. And if you take the diagonal and take all the steps which are above the diagonal, take all the east step above the diagonal of this coefficient of pass, then the parameter number of each step has the same distribution as the number of -1. So if there is no east step at above the diagonal, means that once you touch the diagonal, all the paths go above. So it's a special case of binomial determinant. And in that case, so you have permutation. In that case, so there is some bijection. Arvind Iyer from Bangalore, he gave a bijection between the direct bijection between permutation and such configuration of paths, descending plane partition with no -1. But of course, if there is no -1, you are far from the bijection from Altair-Einstein matrices to descending plane partition. So this is a surprise. At that time, there is no bijection. But now let's go back to the symmetry of the plane partition. You can have also both symmetry, totally symmetry plane partition, exchanging x and y, and cyclically symmetric. And again, there is a conjecture for the number of totally symmetric. In fact, there is 10 conjecture, 10 formula. You can also define another symmetry, the complement of the plane partition. Suppose you have a room n by n by n, like a cube, put some cube in a corner, so the complement will be all the cubes which are not in the partition. And if you make a transformation, this is also a plane partition. So self-complementary means a plane partition which are equal to the complement. So if you combine all possible symmetry, there is 3 symmetry, and up to isomorphism, there is 10 class, there is 10 formula, and so combinatorists have spent many, many years to prove all these formula, but the surprise is that if you have this formula, this is again the number of Altair-Einstein matrices. And what is this class of permutation? It's a totally symmetric self-complementary plane partition. Plane partition having all the symmetry, again you find the number of Altair-Einstein matrices. So all the conjectures have been proved by different techniques. And the last one, which resists, was proved by Andrews, the totally symmetric self-complementary plane partition, which are the same as the number of Altair-Einstein matrices. So Andrews proved it. There is no bijection. But what is the Andrews proof? So here is an example of a beautiful self-complementary plane partition. Here is there is 7 such 1, 2, 7, 42. And the proof goes, there is a bijection by Serge Deluc in Bordeaux, and then you have a bijection between configuration of paths, non-crossing paths with some binomial coefficient written in a strange way. So I extract this picture from a paper by Di Francesco where you have this, you extract it and you get, there is a bijection between between this partition, totally symmetric, self-complementary, and the coefficient of paths. And so the last of the 10 conjectures was proved by Andrews. So first, you go from this partition to the coefficient of non-crossing paths. But because the ending points are moving, it's not a single determinant, it's a sum of determinants, which is reduced a Pfaffiant, which become again a single determinant, and then reduce a very long calculus using a computer. And so this was a tour de force by Andrews to prove, so this is very complicated proof. And then just after, during Andrews was proving this, the proof of the Altair-Einstein matrices was done by Zalberger during several years from 92 to 95. And this was the first proof of the Altair-Einstein matrices. And what Zalberger proved, he proved that the number of Altair-Einstein matrices is the same as the number of totally symmetric self-complementary plane partition. So if you know Andrews' paper, then you can deduce solves Alter-Einstein matrices, but just to show that there is same number on both sides. There is no bijection, same number on both sides, and here is the first page of the paper. So the paper is so long, 90 pages of like this, you see, many pages of... Yes, all the combinatorial community was a checker. So he divides the paper in a sequence of 2 pages, and 2 pages were sent to 2 different checkers, and we have to check, each of us have to check if the 2 pages were correct, and if everything was correct, then the root checker was Bressou. Shalosh also was involved, yes. Yes. I don't know if everybody do his work correctly, but then the paper was accepted. It seems to be true, but and Bressou was, I think, the main checker to say that the root of the tree. If every checker say yes, you have to prove that then the conjecture is solved. It's children of Zalberger, yes. Okay, so it's already, so maybe it's 3-4 minutes more. I thought it's not finished. And then the second proof, given by Kuperberg, the ICE model. So he used a connection with the 6-vertex model, used the physics solution. So this was a 10-page proof, but you have to go through the parameter, root of unity, etc. So I will skip this. So we have 3 things: the number of Alter-Einstein matrices, number of descending plane partition, number of totally symmetric self-complementary plane partition. These 3 things are the same number, and there is no bijection between all these 3.
Not even descending plane partitions?
Nothing. This is the jewel of chromatography. See, this resists since 80 years, since the beginning of 85. And Bressou made a beautiful book in 1999 to a survey of all this story. And should I take 3 minutes more? Because 3-4 minutes more. So the story is not finished. In 2000 came the famous Razumov-Stroganov paper, where in this paper is spin chain in combinatorics, the XXZ model. And so you remember there was this paper in Lyon with some polynomial interpretation. So it's again the XZ model. And then there is some polynomial, there is some wave function. If you go to gate normalization, you have some integer. And if you look the integer carefully, then you can see 1, 2, 7. Then the Alter-Einstein matrices appear again in this problem with nothing to do with a priori with combinatorics. So Razumov-Stroganov, and then they get, in this paper, they get some vector, which are integer. The sum of the element of the vector is the number of Alter-Einstein matrices, and each coefficient, the number of coefficient is Catalan number, and each coefficient, so the famous Razumov-Stroganov conjecture, you have to prove that this number, Alter-Einstein matrices appear, and not only this, but they give an interpretation of each element of such vector which appear. Number of elements is Catalan number, and each number is an integer. You have to find a combinatorial interpretation. And this combinatorial interpretation has been given as a Markov chain on chord diagram. So a chord diagram is this with non-intersecting chord. This is Catalan number, because if you write like this, you get a Dick path, very classical. So this is Catalan number. And then there is a Markov chain on this. So the number of state is a Catalan number, all these possible diagram. A Markov chain, you choose 2 consecutive points. So if the 2 consecutive points are connected by, like this by an edge, you do nothing. If they are connected by 2 different edges, then you can do this. You make a different, the new red arc, you put it inside, so you can do this. And then you add a new chord here. So this is a Markov chain. In chapter 3, I will explain you precisely the definition of stationary probability. But here there is some stationary probability. And the famous Razumov-Stroganov conjecture was to show that this integer vector coming from the spin chain are exactly each vector, each element of this, which gives the stationary probability. So the stationary probability is exactly this. If you have an FPL, total number is a number of Alter-Einstein matrices, but if you have an FPL, you can send it just by easy deformation of the link. You can send it on this. And then the probability in the Markov chain, the stationary probability, is exactly the number of FPL going on a given diagram. So this solves, if you prove this, this is equivalent to the Razumov-Stroganov conjecture.
You do that thing with equal probability.
Yes, you do, each time you do with equal probability. After a big amount of time, then the probability to get a particular diagram like this is exactly 1 over the total number of Altair-Einstein matrices multiplied by the number of FPL, which give an explicit fixed core diagram. And this was solved by Cantini and Sportiello in a very beautiful proof, a totally bijective proof, completely bijective. So there is no, the physicists have worked a lot of this. Many, like Di Francesco and Jean Justin, they work a lot. So they make, they go around the Razumov-Stroganov conjecture. They make many papers, 10 or 12 papers. They go around. They did not solve it. The solution was not with physics tool, only with pure bijective tool, with the so-called Wieland rotation. But going around was very interesting because they work with the Q analog, the Knizhny-Samolchikov equation, which is above the Altair-Einstein matrices. So they connect all this without, there is no bijection, but there is some very interesting thing all around this Altair-Einstein matrices. And there is many things when you replace, you see the 1, 2, 3 enumeration. If you replace in this polynomial an of x, x equal 1 gives the number of Altair-Einstein matrices, x equal 2 gives you the number of Aztec diagram, x equals 3 also there is a formula which is related to uncle determinant of some beautiful orthogonal polynomial. So next time, next class, next year, I will work on this combinatorics. This is very interesting things. And there is a XXZ, ASCII, Wilson operator. So there is many interesting things all around these Altair-Einstein matrices. So you see the beauty of this combinatorics. So putting what we have done is just very simple things. What we have done is just very simple, putting on this 8-vertex quadratic algebra, putting some general principle, and but maybe to put some general things, maybe to understand how it works, like the bijection between FPL and Altair-Einstein matrices. Okay, so next time we will start chapter 3, and we'll go back to some more easy and reasonable things, than Altair-Einstein alternating tableau, which are in bijection with permutation. So we'll go an analog of RSK, but totally different. There will be local rule notation. So and we will go in the beauty of the combinatorics of orthogonal polynomial. Laguerre history, Q analog. So the PASEP is really strongly related to orthogonal polynomial. And also there's relation with the XXZ model. So all this, you see, there is connection in physics, connection in combinatorics, connection in algebra. The connections are different from one domain to another. So what is good is to have all this different connection in different domains and just make a whole network of very strange connection. So thank you for this long